I'm this close to biting on the Ravens. I really am. I might even pick them to win Monday night against Pittsburgh. And if they win, I'll bite. But right now I'm this close. I tell myself, old defense that isn't that different from the one that kept getting smoked last year. I tell myself, they got a rookie quarterback. I tell myself, they don't got the very good offensive line, but they're 2-0. Their defense has given up 20 points in 2 games. Um, Flacco, in spite of a couple of rookie mistakes, he is a rookie. They're going to happen. Looks good, and the team seems to like him. They like to play for him. The running game is great. They've got so many guys they can run the ball with. Ray Rice, LaRon McClain, Willis McGahee. And more importantly, the defense playing. But the most important thing here is, of course, the defense. Ray Lewis looks back to form. Ed Reed. Chris McAllister. So I'm thinking about biting on Baltimore guys, and I might take them to beat Pittsburgh because Pittsburgh is banged up, but we'll get to that in a second. So I'm liking what I see from Baltimore. As for Cleveland, time for a change of quarterback. I want to see Brady Quinn in there ASAP. This Derek Anderson guy, it's not enough that the Browns are losing. He's not playing well. Go look up the numbers. They're paltry. And he's got no excuse. He's got Braylon Edwards, who, he drops passes, but he's a big threat guy, just like T.O. He's got Jamal Lewis, who's been struggling so far, but he's still a talented back, and he's still playing all right. He's got Kellen Winslow, so... Oh, and Dante Stallworth needs to get on the field. They paid him some good money to come over to Cleveland. He's got to get in there. And, well, you knew that the Cleveland defense wasn't going to be that good this year, and, well, we're getting what we expected. My condolences to the Browns fans who thought this year was going to be the year, and, well, 0-3, I think that spells disaster, but best of luck. Eagles, Steelers, good defensive struggle here. Eagles' front seven was playing out of their minds, and I wasn't even watching the game. I was watching Gamecast, and you could tell every play, sack. There was a sequence of plays where it felt like Ben got sacked like 5 times in a row. I know that didn't happen, but that's what it felt like. Every time he dropped back, you could almost imagine, yeah, he's going to get sacked. And he got sacked. They almost played a little too crazy. They got called for a couple of roughing and face mask penalties, but got to give credit to them because they had to win this game. Jim Johnson said, okay, I'm calling some blitzes. I'm calling crazy blitzes. And it worked. Worked out nicely for him. Eagles offensively, they lost Westbrook early in the game. That hurt them. McNabb got hurt very early and played through it and had an excellent game. He played very well. And, people say he isn't tough, but come on, guys, he's tough. You can say what you want about him not performing in the playoffs, getting injured too easily, but I gotta believe he's tough after what I've seen him go through. So, that being said, those two guys do have to stay healthy. I think Brian Westbrook will be back next week for the Bears, but gotta stay healthy because he is not the most fragile guy. He is a pretty fragile guy. Pittsburgh, after a showing like that from one of the most important parts of your team, the offensive line, it's difficult to still consider them a Super Bowl contender because that's what some people were talking about after the first 2 weeks, especially after the Houston game. I think it was Bill Simmons who said, if the Steelers don't get the first number 1 seed in the AFC, then I don't know anything. So maybe that tells you a little something about Bill Simmons. I cannot believe that the combination of bad play calling, offensive line play, their offensive line is bad, and a couple of injuries is going to allow them to do that. So, props to the Eagles overcoming some injuries, going out of their minds defensively and winning this game. And like I said, I felt this was a game they really, really, really needed to win. Not technically, but I felt that they needed to go in there with urgency and play out of their minds, and they did. Good game. Jags and Colts. You don't see the Colts like this very much. Usually, Yeah, they'll lose games every now and then, but if there is the opportunity for the Colts to win the game at the end, they'll find a way to do it. And really, they did. Manning drove the Colts down. He threw it deep on 4th and 2. He converted third downs on that last drive. He executed a really good 2-minute drill and punched it in the end zone. Colts take the lead, but defensively, it looks like we're back to those Colts of 2006 right now. They cannot stop the run. They are helpless against the run. They give up short passes. They let other teams chew up the clock. Jacksonville held the ball for 26 minutes in the second half. I think that if that, usually when that happens, they should just hand the other team an automatic win because you're not going to win like that. Jacksonville is weak up the middle right now. They cannot run block because their entire offensive line pretty much right now is backups. And I know the Colts are hurting on defense right now. They don't have Ed Johnson anymore. They had to cut him. They don't have Corey Simon, but they haven't had him for a while. That shouldn't be a big deal. I think they cut... who was the guy they traded for from Tampa? Anthony McFarland. He's gone now. They don't have Bob Sanders right now. But you got to be better than that. You got to get a push up the middle, and they didn't. So Manning, his head's not quite in the game right now. He just isn't showing the usual Peyton Manning stuff. It's a little odd to watch, but since we've been watching Peyton Manning for the last 10 seasons, we know he'll come around, but it needs to be soon. The sooner the better. On a happy note for the Colts, Adai did show up. Adai played a nice game. Harrison made some good plays. Really, the offense is looking like it's getting back into gear. They just need to get it all going at once. Because other than like the first drive of the game, which took like 3 minutes, and right before the end of each half, Colts offense couldn't do anything. They were turning it over. They were punting. So, gotta just get it all working at once. Some people are complaining about some of the calls on the Colts after reviewing the game tape. I'm inclined to agree with most of the calls. I don't think anything was too blatantly giving the Jacksonville Jaguars a chance to win. So, this one's on them. Cowboys-Packers. Pretty good game. I think the Cowboys underachieved a little bit. Romo made at least 2 dumb mistakes out there that probably hurt their cause quite a bit. T.O. didn't have his popcorn ready, or maybe he did, but maybe he had some butter on it, and, the offense just wasn't quite there all around. They were able to run the ball real well. They had the one big play from Felix. Felix looks like he's for real, doesn't he? I mean, the first game against the Browns, he scored the touchdown. I was thinking, yeah, okay, you scored a touchdown. You were in the red zone. They just handed it off to you. That's a gimme. They're just letting you have your first touchdown of your career. But the last 2 games, he earned those touchdowns. Those were long touchdowns. Those were big touchdowns to the Cowboys, too. So he earned those. And he's looking great right now. Defensively, you got to give credit to Dallas. They got good pressure on Aaron Rodgers. They really completely cut off the big play for Green Bay. They allowed 9 meaningful points, to be perfectly honest. But as for the Packers, I thought they got a decent pass rush. It's got to be better than that. I think their pass rush was better than I expected, but it still needs to be better if they want to compete at that level. They need more deep plays in their playbook because at the end they were desperate. They were driving down by 18 and throwing a bunch of short slants. There's got to be more long plays in that playbook, more opening it up. But Rodgers played well, took some sacks, wasn't enough of a big play threat, but I'm not going to hold anything against him because he played nicely. So, Green Bay just isn't up to Dallas' snuff right now. Last game, Chargers-Jets, offensive shootout. You got to give credit to San Diego. They're putting up a ton of points without all their offensive weapons right now. Their offense is going lights out, and they don't have LT. They don't have a fully healthy Antonio Gates. Their line is missing a couple of people, I think, so credit to them. That being, Rivers is another guy who's going out of his mind in the first couple weeks of the season. Jets, Mangini, I'm getting a little wary of you right now. I don't like some of your decisions and the play calling. I'm a little concerned about the Brett Favre comeback tour once again, but the Jets have an easy schedule. They should still make the playoffs. And that's all I'm going to say this week, so I'll see you guys in week 4.